Hello. I'm in the city, Denver to be exact. I've lived here, I've worked here, years and years and years. I know this town like the back of my hand. Today we're going to do a meditation in the city. I'm going to show you how that can be done. No matter where you are, it's noisy. Maybe some of you have children, they like to run and play and make noise. How do I stay present? How do I do that? Watch. I'm talking in this video. I say some words. I make a sound. I pause between the words. Think of your thoughts. Here's an analogy that I don't remember who it was, but another social media person, spiritual teacher. I wish I could remember who it was. But what they did was to pull over on the side of the road, and they pointed to the cars and they said, look at your thoughts going by. Like cars. Do you interact with each car? No, you just watch the car go by. So I'm listening to my senses. I'm listening to the sounds without judgment, without adding a narrative. The thoughts that go by as I stand here, they go by me like the cars. And I don't interact with them. Here come some thoughts. I just listen. Or maybe I decide to walk. We could go for a walk. In the city. You still have to pay attention. You don't want to get hit by a car or a bicyclist. Listen. Just listen. So thoughts go by. We don't interact with them. There's thoughts about the city, thoughts about the sounds and the sights, thoughts that tell a story, tell a narrative, but we don't interact with the thoughts either. Judgments, stories, narratives, determinations, they happen. Just like the cars happen. But even the thinking, we don't need to think about that. We don't do anything about the thinking. The mind, it just thinks. That's just what it does. Here comes a really loud thought. That was a big one. The mind tells a story about the sights and people. That's just what it does. The mind thinks. That's all. You can probably hear the sound of the tripod hitting the sidewalk. Little distracting. But notice every time the tripod hits the sidewalk, a thought says, he's making an amateur YouTuber mistake. Right? Notice that. Notice the judgment. But just notice, we don't do anything about the thoughts, the judgments, the distractions of thinking. We don't need to do anything about them. They just are. That's all. They're noise. Here, let's get a look at these buildings. And observe. Totally detached from our thoughts. How do I do staying present? How do I do that? Right? I got to get the outside world to stop. I've got to get there to be less noise out there. That's not it. There needs to be less noise in here and in here. Well, how do I do that? That's not it either. It's not a doing, it's a being. Very simple. You allow the thinking. To do something about the thinking is to think more. To think about the thinking, and there's emotional narratives even sometimes. There's frustration. I'm frustrated that this thinking is going on. I was unhappy about something, the noise of the city. There's some dissatisfaction there. And now, the mind says, I'm unhappy about being unhappy. I'm not spiritual now. That's not it. These are both narratives, mental and emotional narratives. And the mind is doing that. That's just what it's doing. That's okay. It does that. It thinks, it feels things. We still have our senses about us. Not the greatest block in this part of town to be on. Like I said, I know the area, so we're gonna push on a little bit. Kind of some shady characters around. But see, I still have my faculties about me. I still have learned past experiences. I've got information that I can apply practically in my situation. Again, this could be a situation, you know, just an evening at home, you're with your children, you're cooking dinner, they're being loud. You want to practice presence, but what if my kid starts playing around with a piece of broken glass or something? What if something happens and they run over to the broken glass? Well, you know what to do. You've got your faculties about you. But you add a spaciousness to what you're doing. You don't allow yourself to get sucked into the rattling machinations of mind, of the story, about the event or situation. You handle the situation, and that's all. Well, I used to work in this building. This is a good place to stop. I used to work right here in this building, 33-story tall building. I worked on the 33rd floor. Had a great view. So here we are, amongst the noise. So I'm shifting my attention away from thought. I listen to the sounds. All of my attention, consciousness, focus, dumping into my sense of sound. For some people, sight may be more effective, or touch. Or a combination of these. I listen to the thoughts the same way that I listen to the sounds. I listen. And that's all. I'm not trying to do anything with the sounds or the thoughts. The thoughts just are as they are. When you realize this, when you remove more and more of your focus, your consciousness, off of the thinking, you're removing its fuel source. Consciousness is the fuel source of thinking. So when you separate yourself from the thinker, when you remember who you are as the conscious being, when thoughts occur, you watch them or you hear them in the same way that you would hear the sounds of the city. And that's all. And then they don't bother you. And then interestingly, the more you do that, the more the thoughts slow down. There seems to be less thinking suddenly. So you got to give it time for the wheel to stop spinning. I don't know if you can hear the siren. Can you hear the siren? There's a siren. It echoes, it reverberates. Throughout the city. There's big sounds and there's little sounds. There's big thoughts and there's little thoughts. And that's all. Have a wonderful week.